There's something about hiking that draws people in. The fresh air, the towering trees, the feeling of escape. But the deeper you go into the woods, the more it starts to feel like something's watching. These are 3 creepy true hiking horror stories that'll make you think twice before ever stepping off the trail again. Story 1. The Thing That Crawled. I've been hiking since I was a teenager. Not a pro or anything, but definitely not a rookie. Back in 2019, I went on a deep trail hike in Olympic National Forest with 2 of my closest friends, Ben and Kyle. We'd planned a 3-day trek, no cell service, just nature. Our goal was to unplug and get as far away from civilization as possible. On the second night, we made camp deep in the woods, about 8 miles from the nearest trailhead. We found a clearing near a slow-running stream. It was peaceful, calm, and quiet, too quiet. Even as we gathered wood and started a fire, I kept noticing how silent the forest was. No insects, no birds, not even the distant rustle of wildlife. It felt like the trees were holding their breath. Ben made a joke about how horror movies always start like this. Kyle laughed it off, but I could tell he felt it too. That eerie tension you get when your gut knows something's off. We had dinner, told a few stories by the fire, and turned in around 10 p.m. That's when it started. At first, it was subtle, like something dragging slowly through leaves. We thought maybe a raccoon or a deer. Ben called out, trying to scare whatever it was away, but it didn't respond. It just stopped, like it knew we were listening. Then, around 11:30 p.m., we heard it again, but this time it was closer, low to the ground. Not walking, crawling. The leaves shifted rhythmically, like elbows or knees pushing through dirt. Whatever it was, it circled the tent once, twice, 3 times, then stopped near my side of the tent wall. I whispered to Kyle, who was already wide-eyed. We all stayed perfectly still, and then we heard it, breathing. Low, raspy, like something struggling to inhale. It pressed against the tent, and I swear to God I could see its outline through the nylon. It had fingers, long, thin, almost human. They slowly dragged down the side of the tent, pausing every few inches. No sound, no growl, no words, just that dragging motion and that horrible breathing. Ben shouted, "Hey!" Whatever it was scurried off fast, not like an animal, like something that shouldn't exist. We sat there for the rest of the night, holding knives and bear spray. No one slept. The forest stayed dead quiet. When dawn finally came, we stepped outside and checked the area. No tracks, no claw marks, but the strangest part? There was a perfect circle of flattened leaves around our tent, like something had been crawling on its belly, pressing down the brush. We'd packed up in record time. No one wanted to talk about it. We just hiked, hard, 8 miles back to the trailhead without taking a single break. Once we made it to the car, Ben finally asked, "Do you think it was a person?" Kyle shook his head. If it was, why didn't they say anything? And I added, "And how do you explain the fingers?" We still keep in touch, still go camping, but we never went back to that part of the forest again. And whenever one of us brings it up, we go silent, like talking about it might make it come back. I've looked online, tried to find stories similar to what we saw. There are a few. People claiming to see pale crawlers, forest mimics, or not deer in the Northwest. But nothing quite fits. I don't know what we saw that night, but I know it wasn't normal, and I know it's still out there. And just like that, a peaceful trip turned into a waking nightmare. It makes you wonder what else is out there crawling through the woods when no one's watching. But trust me, that was just the beginning, because the next story, it's not about what's crawling, it's about what's standing still, watching, waiting. Story 2. The Man in the Bushes. Back in 2021, I went on a solo hiking trip through the Sierra Nevada mountains. I had just turned 30 and was going through one of those find yourself phases. I needed to disconnect from everything: my job, my phone, the noise of life. So I picked a week, packed up my gear, and hit a remote trail I found on a hiker's forum. People said it was peaceful, unmarked, not touristy, perfect. The first 2 days were incredible. Cold streams, golden sun filtering through tall trees. No people, no sound but my boots and the birds. I had a small journal and would sketch or write during breaks. Honestly, it was peaceful until night 3. That evening, I set up camp on a ridge overlooking a valley, beautiful view. The kind of thing that makes you forget how far you are from help. I cooked dinner, took a few notes in my journal, then sat outside my tent, watching the sun disappear behind the trees. And that's when I saw him. At first, I thought it was just movement. You know, like how shadows shift when you blink. But then it moved again, a figure, standing on the opposite ridge, maybe 300 yards away, still watching. I thought maybe another hiker, but the trail was so remote, and I hadn't seen a soul in days. I waved. No response. He just kept standing there, arms at his sides, head tilted slightly, like he was trying to see what I was doing. The sun dipped lower, and the figure vanished into the darkness. But the weird part? There was no sound, no crunching of leaves, no snapping branches. Just gone. I felt uneasy but tried to write it off. It's probably some park ranger or hunter, I told myself. Someone keeping their distensional big deal. But at 1:17 am in night, I woke up to something outside my tent. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. 1, pause. 2, closer. My blood went cold. I stayed still, listening. I heard breathing low and steady. Not an animal, too heavy for a deer, too precise for a bear. Then something brushed against the side of my tent, just a soft touch, like someone running their hand along the nylon. I didn't breathe, didn't move. My knife was in my boot outside the tent, so I was completely exposed. After a minute, the sounds stopped. But I didn't sleep, not for 1 second. At dawn, I got out and looked around. That's when I saw the footprints, boot prints, human. They circled the tent 3 times, then led off into the woods. But there was something even worse. I found my journal open, sitting on a rock about 15 feet away. It had been zipped up inside my tent when I went to sleep. Now it was open to a sketch I'd done earlier of the valley, and someone had written on the page beneath it 2 words: nice view. I packed up everything, didn't eat, didn't stop. I hiked over 20 miles that day until I reached the ranger station near the highway, told them what happened. They looked disturbed, but said no reports had come in about anyone matching what I described. No missing persons, no patrols, nothing. I asked to see the guest log, just in case. And that's when I saw it, a name written in shaky cursive, just one line above mine. The name was scratched out, but what chilled me was the comment beside it, "Here to watch the watchers." That trip was the last solo hike I've ever taken. I still go out on trails, but never alone, and never without a weapon. To this day, I don't know who that man was, or what he wanted, but I know this: he was real. He was out there, and he watched me sleep. The silence of the wilderness hides more than animals. Sometimes it hides people, and sometimes they don't want to be found, but there's something even worse than being watched, and that's knowing something unnatural is following you, and it's smart enough to whistle. Story 3. The Whistling in the Gorge. In the summer of 2020, my cousin Danny and I decided to hike through the Columbia River Gorge in Oregon. We'd both been locked indoors for most of the year and needed some fresh air. The plan was simple: 2 nights on the trail, nothing extreme. Just a loop hike through forest and river with a campfire and whiskey to bring it all together. The first day went smooth. We laughed, told dumb stories, and even made fun of how spooky the woods looked in some areas. Danny's the type of guy who jokes when he's nervous. I didn't realize it then, but he never really stopped joking once we crossed into a certain part of the trail, an overgrown offshoot we found just before dusk. It wasn't on the map, but it was beautiful. Thick moss, massive trees, ferns that brushed against our knees, and silence. I mean, not just normal quiet. No birds, no wind. Even the water seemed to hush itself the deeper we went. We thought we were just far off the beaten path. Didn't think anything of it. Not until night fell. We set up camp near a dry riverbed, built a fire, and cracked open a flask. About an hour after dark, just as we were starting to doze off by the fire, we heard something. A whistle. Not a bird. Not wind. A deliberate human whistle. 4 notes slow, rising at the end. We froze. Danny whispered, "Did you hear that?" I nodded. Then we heard it again. 4 notes. Exactly the same. I called out, thinking maybe someone was nearby. No answer. We waited, and nothing else happened. We tried to shake it off and went to our tents. At 2:13 a.m. I remember, because I checked my watch. I woke up. There was no sound, no wind, but I could see shadows moving on the tent wall, like someone was walking in a slow circle around the fire pit. Then I heard the whistle again. 4 notes, but this time closer. I sat up, heart pounding. Danny called out from his tent, "You awake?" Before I could answer, we both heard it. Laughter. It was soft, like someone trying to stifle it. But it wasn't right. It sounded broken, like someone laughing through a mouth full of water. We unzipped our tents and jumped out, flashlights sweeping. No one was there, but the laughter echoed through the trees. We didn't sleep, just packed our bags and waited for first light. As soon as it hit, we took off, back the way we came. We hiked non-stop, didn't eat, didn't talk. But here's the thing: every time we stopped to catch our breath, we heard it. 4-note whistle, always the same. By midday, we reached a stretch of trail we both swore we hadn't seen before. There was no sign of our boot prints, no crushed grass. It felt like the woods were folding in around us, like we were being led in circles. That's when Danny snapped. He started yelling, cursing at the trees, screaming, "What do you want?" And just like that, the forest answered. From deep in the trees, Multiple voices called back in unison, mimicking him. What do you want? What do you want? Not echoes, mimics, dozens of voices layered and staggered, like something had been listening to us the whole time. We ran, didn't care where, just away. Somehow, after 2 more hours of sprinting, stumbling, and pure adrenaline, we broke through a clearing and hit the original trailhead. When we got to the car, I locked the doors and didn't say a word until we were halfway back to Portland. Later that night, Danny texted me a voice memo. He'd recorded the whistle on his phone. It was faint, but clear. 4 notes. Then silence. Then a whisper at the end of the clip, so soft I didn't notice it until I played it back at full volume. It said, "Don't come back." I haven't. Neither has Danny. We don't even talk about it anymore. But every once in a while, I'll be walking downtown or laying in bed, and I'll hear it again, that whistle, 4 notes, rising at the end. 3 stories, 3 reminders that nature doesn't always play by the rules. So the next time you step off the path, ask yourself what's watching from the trees. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, you already know. This is Whispers Between Worlds. Subscribe for more true horror, and stay out the woods. If you can,